Hello, everyone. This is the Pitt and Paddock Racing Show with Dan and Rand, and we're going to launch right into NASCAR. Atlanta was the last race. What do you think was the highlight of that race?
Well, pretty easy. The finish, one of the closest finishes in NASCAR history. That was pretty exciting.
There was plenty of crashes, which is what you want on a high-speed
Yeah,
oval.
that's Atlanta's a tough track. Only a mile and a half, not a 2.5 like the other drafting tracks. So it's a little more handling reliant,
A little more of a driver track.
as much as you can be in that style of racing, probably.
You need a little more skill and not just having a drafting partner.
Yeah, but that's still important.
How many crashes did they have?
Oh man,
5, 6?
it wasn't as bad as the lower series, but there was still a few.
They crashed on like lap 2 or
Lap
3.
2, and I went, oh man, here we go.
Oh, this will be fun.
Honestly. They managed to fit a few crashes in between commercials there also, so that was nice of them.
I always say NASCAR is more of a show. You know, it's not the purest racing like Formula One is. And they gave them a show. That was a good show.
I think, especially the drafting tracks are that kind of anybody can win at any time.
Oh, yeah, where you get the big crashes all together. Well, here's what I don't get. So they break it up into stages. I don't understand. Why do we need stages in these big races?
For the NASCAR, when did they do that? It's probably been 5 years now. They wanted the drivers racing hard the whole race and not just sitting back for 400 or so miles, and relaxing, saving, and then waiting till the last 100 to go, because then they award points, bonus points at the stage end.
Okay.
And also it gives a chance to show more commercials scheduled, because there wasn't enough commercials.
Oh, yeah, you had a perfect break time. Every time there's a stage ending.
I will say it's nice at the track, and I can run up and go to the bathroom and get a drink, but on TV it's kind of annoying.
If you're watching it live.
Yeah.
I don't know the last time I watched a race live. The ones we went to.
Indy?
Yeah, those ones you have to. Oh, yeah, the Indy 500 you tend to watch live. But a lot of the other races is so easy now just to.
That's yeah. Usually, if I'm at the track, I like the stages. If I'm watching them, I'll maybe start an hour or two later and find something else to do so I can skip commercials.
So, all right. So, who do you think is the driver to beat? I know it's only been 2 races and they're both high speeders, but who looks like the driver this year?
I'm probably a Hendrick. Byron? He's been good, but I don't know. Because the 2 tracks aren't really representative of what you're going to be seeing for a majority of the season. But Byron has been good at Vegas. Byron's been good at, always won at Phoenix, so he's always going to be up there. Logano and Hamlin, the 2 who are perennially top 4 drivers, both crashed out in both of the races, so they've got a bit of a hill.
How about team-wise? What team do you think is the team to beat this year? Because Hendrick's always
always up there. The Toyotas and the Fords got a new nose on their car, so that's sort of a wait and see how that works out for the 1.5-mile tracks. But who won? I'm going to say Logano, too. I think they're going to get their stuff together.
Does Haas ever really do well?
Man, they have just been awful for like 4 years. Harvick was like dragging them along.
Oh, yeah.
And he retired last year, and now it's like 4 rookies almost, and I don't know what the deal is. They're getting passed by like B teams. Front Row Motorsports are another Ford team that's kind of passing them along speed-wise.
That's hard to see. I always liked Tony Stewart.
Tony needs to get his team together.
Yeah, he's not doing so hot. So Byron's going to be your pick for the year, you think?
Yeah, I think so.
I was going with Gilliland. Gilliland. I can never say his name right.
Gilliland?
Gilligan.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna go with Gilligan.
Gilligan.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna go Gilligan just because his sponsor was peanuts, and I thought that was cool. Some of the sponsors, who was the sponsor of the race winner? Like something I never heard of, like ParkingGarage.com or something ridiculous, or half the sponsors or some kind of weird Bitcoin or what happened to the days when all the sponsors were like Tide and Coors and
Fortune 500 companies, and
Yeah.
they would have the same car every race, and now it's just switches.
yeah, stuff that you've actually heard of before. So yeah, it was Georgia Peanuts, right? Yeah,
Yes.
Georgia Peanuts. I don't know if they're going to stick with him the whole year, but I thought Georgia Peanuts was cool.
That might just be an Atlanta race that they do that.
That's too bad. I like the Peanuts sponsor. Who crashed him out? Did Briscoe?
There was a... Yes, Briscoe was a little overzealous and caused a bit of a big one.
He's probably a Russian plant.
I know he is.
Unless you like Briscoe, then I take that back.
Yeah, that's just a joke.
Okay. We were going to mention the off season for NASCAR, since we're only 2 races in, was pretty quiet.
Not much happening. Not a lot of... Harvick retired. Josh
Yeah.
Berry filled in for him, so... There's some other notable things, but nothing super exciting.
No, the previous race was Daytona. Was it... You think it was a better Daytona than usual, or...
I think it was the best with their current car. Or just... Yeah, they raced a little better. You know what was terrible was a lot of fuel mileage saving in the middle of the race. And they were, backing off like 75, 50% of the throttle. But they were so close together that nobody could really tell until after the race when the drivers were complaining about it.
Yeah, I would call it an average Daytona. It wasn't super good. It wasn't bad. It was kind of your usual Daytona. They do get kind of boring in the middle.
A lot of, driving around for a bit, then towards the end everyone starts to get serious about it.
How, you know what, I was going to mention, how did Busch end up with the number 8 car? I thought wasn't that Dale Jr.'s number?
He went to Richard Childress 2 years ago to take, because Tyler Reddick left, and that's the car that's his car, so.
Dale Jr. let him have the number?
Yes.
Okay. NASCAR, lastly, I guess the next race is Vegas, not too far away.
Nope. Back to normal.
A
Pretty much
normal track.
pretty average.
Is the banking, do you think the banking's more severe now there, or is it?
It is a little more than it used to be. It usually puts on a decent race for NASCAR.
Yeah, well, I mean, we've been to a few races there. We were at the famous Indycar race.
The World Series. What did they where Dan Weldon lost his life?
Yeah, the one where Dan Weldon was killed. I don't know. I haven't been a big fan of the track just because you can't. Well, the fan experience is good because they have the tunnel underneath the track, so you can go all the way under. When we were at IndyCar, you can really move around. You can see a lot of the garages.
They're very open with you get a ticket to the race and you can go all the way through the Paddock.
Yeah.
The Paddock.
Do they actually use the term paddock there
IndyCar
now?
does. NASCAR does not.
No. Well, I didn't like the fact that they didn't really have infield RV spots. They always had the RVs up along the backstretch. At least when they first opened it.
Did they? Now recently they have a lot of infield space for RVs.
Probably enough people complain that everybody wants to be on the inside. Phoenix got rid of all of theirs, or is there a few left now?
There's none on the infield. It's gone now.
It's a smaller track.
Yeah.
Phoenix too. So next race, Vegas. You think Byron?
Hendrick, Larson, probably Logano, Hamlin, something like that.
You think Logano's got a shot?
I think they'll get it together.
Okay.
Every other year seems to be when Logano steps up. and he was kind of off last year, so I think they'll be back in it.
Well, that's a good race to go to. It's not too far out of town. It's just on the north end of town. It's not like you have to drive a long way. It's not like going to Sonoma or some of these tracks that are out in the middle of nowhere. So that one's an easy to get to race. All right, I'm still going to go with Gilligan.
Okay.
Just because, especially if you still got peanuts, then I'm definitely going with Gilligan.
I wonder what it is this week.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch. All right, let's move on to Formula One.
Did you watch all of testing in its entirety straight through without watching anything else?
I pretended to watch most of testing while I was working.
I had it on all day while I was doing stuff.
It goes pretty slow.
It does.
It's a long day. The recap is nice.
I just enjoy, hearing all the announcers again and the cars on track, and it's a good start to the season. You get kind of reintroduced to everything, and I like watching it, but it's not super exciting.
The big question is it going to be another boring year of Red Bull domination?
I think yes, but
as bad as last year?
I think they're gonna catch up a little bit. Maybe a few wins, or at least a mistake.
I mean, I have a little bit of hope with Ferrari, but it's hard to tell because nobody's out there running apples to apples. They all have different tires or fuel or setups or something.
I don't think testing. I think a little sandbagging. Everyone trying something else out. No one's gonna show what they have right now.
Yeah. It used to be Mercedes. Well, in the last formula, it was always Mercedes sandbagging. Now in this formula, is this year 3 of the new formula?
Yes.
We got this year and then 2 more to go, and then we get a new formula in 26, I think is the next
26?
one. I don't know. I think if we end up with another year like last year, it's going to cost Formula One a lot of fans.
There was already a slight drop-off last year towards the middle of the season from the record highs, TV highs, all the fans that the TV show brought in.
Yeah, the Drive to Survive.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, that brought in tons of fans, but then they all got bored to death watching Red Bull just run off and win every race. Ferrari might get a pole once in a while, but then they would lose it in 4 laps.
Oh, Ferrari.
No, it's bad for the sport, but it's the same formula every year. 5 years per formula. The first year you get competition, and then somebody runs ahead, and you get 3 years of domination, and then in the final year somebody starts to catch up and makes it a game. But those 3 years in between are always terrible. It was Mercedes before, and then it was Red Bull.
Red Bull caught up to Mercedes for the last couple years, and that was when we got the exciting as they caught up and passed them towards the end of that cycle.
Yeah, the very last race of the very last year of the formula. But, I mean, Hamilton just dominated all the time. But before him was Vettel on Red Bull, right?
Yeah.
That dominated for 3 years. I don't know what they do to fix that formula. They keep trying to finagle with it. And
Formula One's the tech. It's not the driver. And I don't want them to start... They already have DRS, tire changing, all the different tire compounds you have to use. It's getting close to, might as well have stage breaks at some point.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want it to turn into a spec series.
No.
We like Formula One because it is a science experiment, and it's all merit. Who can come up with the best design and keep developing it through the year.
I don't mind a team running away with it sometimes, but in the middle of it, it gets a little old.
Yeah. Red Bull's all over the news because they took their car from last year that dominated and drastically modified it, which shocked everybody. The thing that stuck out to me was the side pod. It almost feels like they're trending toward the zero side pod that Mercedes came out with in the first year that was so awful that they had to give up and scrap the whole car.
Adrian Newey decided to work his magic on it.
I almost want Adrian to retire because he's just too dominant right now. It takes the fun out of it.
They should force him to go to the worst team at the end of every season and and help them.
You know, what they could do is set a date when teams can start working on the next year. Because last year, Red Bull started working on the 24 car probably like 6 races in. And so they get a big head start on everybody else.
I guess the more money you have, you can start earlier. But then again, with the cost cap, it's kind of difficult to move that money around to get started that early.
I mean, I don't know how detailed reporting they have to do, but if you've got 100 people on staff, if they start working on the new car early, do you start counting their salary that year? I mean, it seems like it would be easy to get away with going over the cost cap without showing that you're going over the cost cap.
Well, I don't know. Red Bull kind of messed up on that last year.
Oh yeah. Oh, we forgot that
catering
was
catering.
We forgot catering actually costs money.
Shouldn't have added the bacon to the club sandwiches. That was my fault.
Were you shocked to hear Hamilton's going to go to Ferrari?
I was, yeah, a little bit. I kind of thought he would announce his retirement out of nowhere. I didn't really expect a Ferrari change, but it's not super surprising that he would give something else a shot.
Yeah, I mean, I was surprised, but then every driver seems to want to drive the Ferrari at one point in their life.
Yeah, everyone.
But I'm thinking about the last 2 champion drivers that left to go to Ferrari and how awful they turned out. Alonso and Vettel. Neither one of them had any much success at Ferrari. I mean, it all ended bad.
As soon as they switched is when Ferrari went on their downward trend.
Yeah. I remember when young Hamilton wins a championship with McLaren and then switches to Mercedes, they were like a 3rd, 4th rate team back then.
Yeah.
And, the announcers are asking all the drivers, oh, what do you think of Hamilton moving to Mercedes? And then they get to Kimi Räikkönen, and they're like, what do you think of Lewis moving to Mercedes? And his answer was, it doesn't really affect me, so I don't care.
Kimi has the best answers.
We miss Kimi.
Also, what else happened in here? Oh, that's right. Formula One still hates Americans and American teams.
Of course.
We would like to come to your country and charge you thousands of dollars for races, but we won't be having an American team.
Oh yeah, Andretti
and Cadillac.
Andretti and Cadillac got knocked out. Speaking of the price of it, that's why I didn't go to the Vegas race.
I considered it, but I'm like, it's not. What was the cheapest seat? Like $1,500 for the weekend for the one person? Nah.
Yeah, no.
It's too much.
And it's at night. It starts at like 10 o'clock at night.
I don't.
I want to see race cars in the daytime.
Or why does it have to start at 10? Doesn't it get dark in Vegas? Maybe 7-ish, maybe 7:30.
Start at 10. Yeah. Why so late? That's why I just said I'd rather spend my money on the Texas Formula One race.
I'm kind of worried about the sight lines too. I was kind of checking out a few corners when I went up there a few weeks before the race, and you get maybe a corner or two of a good view, and then the cars are gone.
Oh, it's all
for the street course. Yeah, you don't. It's not.
You're watching the whole thing on big screens.
Yeah, it's not like a natural road course where you can at least catch quite a bit of the action.
It was like that when when Indycar or Champ Car went to downtown Las Vegas. Remember, they had one race down there that we went to, which was a lot of fun. Street courses are fun, but yeah, we watched a lot of the race on the big screens because you just can't see them. But Andretti, do you think they'll ever let him in? Do you think they'll let him in 26 maybe?
I think they'll find a way in. I don't know why. I just think that, especially with backing of GM, because I know Formula One would like GM to be involved as the biggest car maker, but I think they'll get in eventually.
Cadillac's got a racing history, right?
They've been doing really well in the prototypes.
Yeah.
IMSA and World Endurance Championship.
They could make a motor. It's in 26 there's going to be a lot more electrical motor, right? The electrical motor is supposed to be a lot bigger.
I think so.
I don't know what the ratio is. Like now it's like what 80%, 90% gas engine, and the rest is electrical. It's like a turbo boost, basically.
Yeah, pretty much.
But it's supposed to be a lot more in 2020. I think they'll let him in. I think they want Cadillac, another custom engine manufacturer that can sell to customers.
That was a little bit of it too. Is Cadillac's not going to have their motor? They're not actually going to be building the motor for another 2 years, I believe.
Oh yeah, he was going to get.
They were going to jump in with a different. Cadillac was going to rebrand someone else's motor until they get theirs all set up.
That's right. That was one of the arguments, right? From that point is, you're going to have to make a car, and then a year later you're going to have to make a whole different car. So, well, they could have at least said that, hey, come back and see us in 2025 or something. But their letter to him wasn't very nice.
Say they would reevaluate.
Yeah. Sounds like the IRS talking to you.
I think it's a little. I don't think it's a great business move. I think Andretti would bring quite a few new fans and interest.
Yeah.
Especially with Cadillac also.
Yeah, they would bring, especially if they got some American drivers.
Yeah, I know. I don't more interested in Cash Stake app Visa Kick. What that team?
Oh, I just still call them Toro Rosso or Red Bull Jr. It's just Red Bull Jr. Whatever they call themselves, they're always Red Bull Jr. They just
randomly selected 4 words and put them in their team name.
Did you like any of the liveries? They say livery in Formula One instead of.
You're not allowed to say paint scheme for Formula One. I think they've gone downhill since they all have to be. They're so weight conscious of the cars. Now it's a little bit of red for Ferrari and a lot of carbon fiber.
Seriously, they're worried about the weight of paint.
Yes, the paint is heavy enough that it's a concern that they can't have nice looking cars.
Just get a skinnier driver. Just get get guys like Takuma Sato drive all the cars.
I think they already are.
Well, Verstappen's close to 6 foot, isn't he? He's pretty tall. Remember Mark Webber? Mark Webber was tall, the Australian driver, but he was always bone skinny. He looked like he'd been at a concentration camp all year. They're not exciting liveries. My favorite one was the commercial on NASCAR where Kurt Busch had his car designed by some contest winner, and it was a girl, and his car had puppies and flowers and kittens.
That's what I think Red Bull should go for that.
Yeah, I'm tired of seeing the red and the blue everywhere. I mean, it's in every racing you can imagine. It's on airplanes. They do something different. They could do something funny. Remember, what year was it where the Clone Wars movie came out, and so Marco Andretti's car had Star Wars, Clone Wars characters all over it.
Not the Star Wars car.
Yeah, and Sonoma, even Formula One didn't they dress up like stormtroopers one year?
Remember at Monaco, someone had a Star Wars livery.
Yeah.
And with the stormtrooper pit crew. That was fun.
Do they use wraps on Formula One car, or is it just straight up paint?
I don't know. I don't think they wrap. It's probably heavier.
Wrap's probably heavier than paint.
They have to use some sort of super expensive lightweight paint.
All right. Who do you think's gonna win this year?
Oh,
is it just Red Bull?
Red Bull. Who does it? I like. Yes, Red Bull, but I think the sort of McLaren, Mercedes, Ferrari, even that sort of grouping, who's going to be second and third, is going to be a pretty interesting battle.
Yeah, I can remember the Mercedes years. It was all okay. What's a race for third? Hamilton and. Well, it used to be Nico Rosberg back then, right? They would all drive off into the distance, and then everybody was racing for third place. It was awful. But, I mean, I don't know. Well, after Bahrain, whatever. After the Arabian race, we'll have a better idea. I don't know. Ferrari might surprise us. It's possible.
Yeah, that's fun to say before every race.
Yeah. And like you say, McLaren might develop its way. They got pretty close. I mean, Mercedes ended up in second, mostly because Ferrari makes bad race decisions.
Man,
But
just the worst. Or just terrible luck mixed just every time.
Oh, yeah, that was. But the Vegas race, how did they blow Leclerc's call? That was his race to win.
They find new and exciting ways to blow it.
Yeah, even with the new principal, although he's probably not the guy making the call. I'm sure there's strategists on computers
Yes.
deciding what to do.
Maybe they should get better computers.
Did you do a fantasy team this year?
I did not start one. Well, there's still time.
Yeah.
Maybe we can get one going.
I started one, but it always seems to crash when I'm trying to make changes to it. I don't know. The app's not that great.
The official, is it through the F1?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a great setup.
F1's whatever their news app had problems last year too. It was always telling me I couldn't read stuff because I have too many devices or something. There was always something wrong. Now we'll move into IndyCar. 24 schedules. What was the deal with Nashville? Why is Nashville an oval now instead of the cool street circuit?
Well, it wouldn't be IndyCar without some sort of issues happening constantly. So they're building a new football stadium, and the previous in Nashville, which they used to run right by the Titan Stadium I believe the pits were right there.
Yeah.
And they sort of just decided they were moving the race without actually finding out if they could or not. They were going to run it down Broadway, the main road where all the bars are, but then I don't think they had that worked out, and they finally just decided to take it to the super speedway because it was getting too close to time, and they
didn't have it worked out.
No.
So they may go back.
Yes.
Okay.
Which I'm not. It's nice to have a super speedway back on the schedule because they seem to be dumping those off. But that was kind of a premier race right through the middle of a massive tourist city.
Yeah. Well, last time I was in Nashville was when some guy parked an RV outside the phone company and blew it up.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah. Yeah, it happened right before we got there, so everybody's trying to get out of town, and there were no rental cars.
Oh.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And we had to drive from Nashville out to a relative's house in, I don't know, some town that was like an hour away, so it's not like we were going to grab a taxi or an Uber or something and get over there. We managed to get a car, only because I rent cars a lot, so. So St. Petersburg is March 10th.
Got a couple weeks coming up.
And then there always seems to be a big gap after St. Petersburg. I don't know why. But they do have this weird thermal race on March 24th. So.
They did fill the gap this year with thermal because after that it was an even longer gap.
So do you understand how the thermal race works?
So they're going to pretty much a racetrack country club in California. And they're just going to run the race for a bunch of rich people. And also $1 million to the winner.
Oh, so it's really rich. So they're not wearing masks.
No, it's what's this?
Only the people that serve their food have to wear masks.
They did put some tickets up on the website, and I gave it a quick look over.
How bad?
I believe it was $1,000.
Oh Lord. Is it a one-day event, or is it like a regular race weekend?
It's a non-points race, but the winner gets $1 million.
Who put up the $1 million?
I don't know. Probably some guy found it in his couch who lives in thermal. It's like I've seen pictures of it before. So it's like you buy a house and the racetrack is there, so you can park your race car, and you can just drive it out and use the track at designated times.
So it's full of Corvettes and McLarens.
Probably the most expensive of cars.
Gray-headed guys.
They fly in from LA and keep all their nice cars out there.
Yeah, you're right. Probably some guy found it in his garage. Oh, look, $1 million. Oh, look, some top secret documents too.
It's by the Corvette.
Yeah. Oh wow, look at that.
I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of it, but I'll watch it, give it a shot.
If it's a good race, I mean, if it's not for points, how hard are they going to race? I don't. You put a driver in a car, and he's going to go hard.
that's not really. I don't think they're going to take it easy.
So IndyCar also had testing yesterday and today. They tested at Sebring, and it was Chevy 1, 2, 3. Ericsson, Willpower, and Award were the top 3, all Chevys. And then 4th was Rosenquist in a Honda. And 5th, our own Graham Rahal in a Honda.
Oh.
Graham the unlucky. Maybe he's not going to be unlucky this year.
Yeah, I doubt it.
Stuff always just, he's just unlucky. Stuff just happens to him for no good reason. And it's never his fault. It's just he has the worst luck sometimes. But what kind of issues? It seems like Honda's got some issues. What's going on with Honda?
Oh, well, in the off-season, Honda's kind of not happy about the cost of engines in IndyCar, and they made that known, saying that there's a chance if it doesn't get fixed up, they could pull out.
Well, I'd love to see Honda, Chevy, and Ford.
That would be... I don't think... Ford's always been unwilling to get back into IndyCar.
I wonder why. Because they were the Champ Car engines, right? They had Cosworth.
Yeah, they did. They have Cosworth.
Before the series came back together, so I don't know why they couldn't do it again.
But that would be bad news. Also, I think Honda's talking to NASCAR because they had mentioned they were talking to another manufacturer, so that could be a big loss for IndyCar if they decide to go that way.
If you only have one engine supplier, then it's even more of a spec series.
At that point, I don't know if Chevy would stay in or they just go to a full spec engine, which would not be great for the series.
Yeah, I mean they're spec enough. They all have the same chassis. They make some of their own parts, right? Like the rear view mirrors and little bits and pieces.
Yeah, I'm not super concerned. It's still in the negotiation phase where people tend to just say a lot of things to move opinion around a little bit, but hopefully that works out.
Well, they are testing a hybrid engine. Was it just the Chevy hybrid, or did Honda put a hybrid out there?
They both,
too?
I believe, have one going.
I read, because they tested at Homestead, and I read the drivers just said it was boring, and that was good, because nothing went wrong.
Oh.
Why do they need to go to a hybrid engine?
Because that's what the manufacturers are doing. I think.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was always supposed to be kind of a developed technology that eventually makes it to the showroom floor.
Now it's made it to the showroom floor, and then 10 years later, we're going to put it in the race cars.
They had to bring the cost down because, Indy fell off a cliff after Tony George broke the series apart back in the 90s, which they still haven't recovered.
No.
What's it gonna? I mean, is there any way that IndyCar could become as popular as NASCAR the way it used to be before, back in the 80s and before?
I don't know. I don't think so. It might ebb and flow back and forth a little bit more, but it seems unless NASCAR does something outrageously dumb, I don't think Indy will get back by them. They're just not in the pop culture unless except for the Indy 500.
They used to be.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and the Indy 500 makes so much money it kind of pays for the rest of the races all year that don't make money.
Yeah.
Whereas NASCAR makes money almost everywhere they go.
It's kind of, and then now they lose a lot of ovals, which is too bad because one of my favorite things about IndyCar was their, street, road, and oval courses.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to have a car and a driver that can do both. And I mean, I understand having a spec car to make it cheaper. It does make a better show, right? Because you don't have one team running away with it. I mean, you go back to the 80s and one Chevy would have a new engine and one team would get it, and the other Chevy customers were kind of hosed for a race or two. That's how uneven it was.
Plus, I believe the car count would drop quite a bit if it was if they had to spend that kind of money to put a car out there.
Yeah. Maybe, I mean, they have a lot of foreign drivers. That never helps. Though I do like Willpower, and I do like Elio and Tony Kanaan. I like all those guys. But it's not going to make you more popular in America having people that nobody's heard of.
No, it takes a while. You get. I remember the Brazilian drivers from early 2000s that came in, and they were pretty, Kanan and Helio, and once you get to know them and they're around for a bit, there you find out that they're some of the more fun guys.
Elio was a cool guy too. I saw him when we were at Phoenix. And...
Who else was there? Oh, Simone was really nice too. Pagano.
Pagano. He was nice to my son. Was 4 or 5?
Yeah.
We had an infield spot right behind pit lane, right behind the Penske pits, and he came over and talked to my boy for like half an hour. He was really nice.
This was late after the last practice or something. It's 8 or 9 o'clock, I think.
Yeah, the sun was down. It was dark. You think he'd be tired, but no, he was talking to fans. He was having a good time, and he's French too.
I remember some track worker was running around. I was like, "Where's Simone at?" They're closing the garage, and he had to do something. And he's hanging out in the RV area, talking to some fans.
Yeah,
I was I don't know. I saw him walk back that way.
Yeah, he did. He did know how to. He did know how to talk to the fans. We saw Robin Miller that year, right? It was 2 years before he died.
Yeah,
I never knew he was 6 foot something until we saw him at the race.
He's a pretty tall guy.
Yeah, and then I didn't realize Takuma Sato was that short. But he was nice too. And all that year, all the drivers from IndyCar sat there. It was hot. The wind was blowing. And they sat there and signed autographs for 3 hours.
Everyone got through the line.
Yeah, no, it was IndyCar is a lot nicer than NASCAR to interact with the drivers, mostly just because of volume. But
it's a lot easier fan experience. Plus, they opened the paddock. You just can walk through the garage area. In NASCAR, you need some kind of special pass that only a few hundred exist.
So it's 3 races, and then we're into the 500.
Yes.
I read they have a new suspension strictly for the Indy 500.
Oh.
But I wasn't able to find out exactly. It's something to do with the rear suspension, and I think they're mandating it just for the Indy 500. But
is this supposed to help passing, or...
It's either going to be passing or safety. Probably safety.
Yeah.
And then they banned that tricky move that Newgarden did last year at the Indy 500.
Was that the Dragon? Was Ericsson doing... So Ericsson didn't go below the pit line.
Yeah. Did he pretend like he was going into the pits to break the draft or something, and then went back on the track?
Yeah, that's fair. That's not... that could be dangerous. Straight into the pit wall there.
Yeah, it was creative.
Well, it worked.
Who do you like for 2024 in IndyCar?
I think McLaren will actually get it together this year.
You think so? I mean, you know what? Andretti actually looks like they might do something this year. Penske's always up there. I want to go with power, but
it might be.
It might be getting too late.
He might be towards the end there.
Yeah.
But then people say that about Dixon, and then he has some more surprises.
Oh yeah, he's winning championships. He's 50. Because after you're 26, your reflexes start to slow down, and reflexes are important in race cars. But maybe Ericsson, I'm thinking.
Yeah.
I think Andretti might do better. They seem to have really bad luck. Didn't they crash out, all their cars got crashed out last year at St. Petersburg?
Sounds very Andretti.
Yeah, they just had horrible luck and some horrible decisions. I'm going to say they get it together this year, and Ericsson turns out to be their guy. Who do you like?
It's tough to not go Penske or Ganassi.
Yeah.
I like... I think McLaren will come to... Let's go with Paddock.
Award and McLaren? Yeah.
That would be a popular one.
Yeah. Both foreign drivers, too. I still love Ray Hall. Ray Hall's still my guy, but he just... I don't know why the team struggles to put a good car out there. I mean, they have a third car this year.
Do they? I know Takuma will be.
Takuma's coming back. Ray Hall's coming back. I know they were trying to put a third team together. I'm not sure if they got it together now, but if
They'll
they
probably
do,
get one for Indy.
yeah. I mean, it helps to have more data to help you set the car up.
They're going to put a third car out so they can knock themselves off a bump day again.
Yeah. Malukas is out for 6 weeks. I barely remember him anyway. I just remember hearing his name because it's so odd, but I couldn't even tell you who he drove for. I just read mountain biking accident.
Yep. Just a unlucky drivers out, unlucky accident.
Yeah.
That reminds me of Chase Elliott was snowboarding last year before a race and broke his leg and was out 6 or 7 weeks in the middle of the season.
Oh, don't teams usually frown on you doing risky stuff like that? Or
I know sometimes it's in a contract, but
Yeah.
I don't know. Mountain biking doesn't seem like. Just roll into it. Take your shoulder.
yeah, it doesn't seem that damn. I know, like, in football, players are forbidden from like riding sport bikes or dirt bikes or any kind of thing where they could get hurt too bad. Grosjeans is moved to his next team. Is he going to do any better with this team?
I don't. It seems like he's been close on some results, but just I don't know. Never quite gets there. Sort of like his entire career, I guess.
Yeah, he does seem to be unlucky. Well, maybe he should go to Rahal.
And then seems to create a lot of conflict with people too. Also,
Does he?
Which-
Like when you hear him interviewed, he seems like a really nice, fun guy. I mean, is he just that fiery behind the scenes that he pisses everybody off?
I think it makes the races a little more interesting. I'm not. I don't want him to stop.
Oh yeah, he is pretty brutal when he's on the track. He doesn't mess around. Well, I mean, he's
him
not.
and Rossi had got into it a few times there.
It's not. At least it makes it interesting. That's the fun part about IndyCar is you can't bang each other too much.
No, that's not a lot of rubbing.
So the weirdest thing I saw was that Indianapolis Motor Speedway is in a fight with Formula One over the phrase "the greatest spectacle in racing."
I saw a little bit of that. I think when they were promoting the Vegas Grand Prix, they called it the greatest spectacle in motorsport or something annoyingly close. And then did they use it again? Formula One?
I didn't even notice them say it. I mean, I've been hearing that in IndyCar forever. The Indy 500. They've always said that.
NASCAR's Instagram put a post out at Daytona. They took a picture of, the start of the race and, the grandstands in the background, the greatest spectacle in racing. And they took it down like pretty quickly after. I'm like, oops, some intern didn't know what he was doing there. It's like,
or he did, and they were just trying to piss off IndyCar.
well, it works. I always see IndyCar fans huffing and puffing about it. It's like,
that's our word.
Don't steal it.
You're not allowed to say that. That's ours. All right. So that's IndyCar. Lastly, other sports. Dakar. I love Dakar. It comes at a good time because the holiday seasons are over and you're taking your Christmas decorations down and everybody's sad. But you have Dakar. 15 days of racing.
It's kind of nice. Every night you get a nice little 30-minute highlight show.
Yeah.
Something to watch. You can get back into racing again.
I'd like to see Peacock give us a little more coverage, but
it's kind of tough to see. And also it's like a hunt every time I want to find it. Where is it, Peacock? Oh, no, I don't want to watch 2020 Dakar.
Yeah.
Give me the new one, please.
Peacock needs to work on their app a little bit to make it easier to find stuff. But shout out to Ricky Brabeck, wins his second Dakar in motorcycle.
Nice.
Our American motorcycle rider. Too bad about his girlfriend. She was in the lower side-by-side. Is it T3 or T4? Not like the top side-by-sides, but the one just below it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't understand all those levels in Dakar.
They don't cover them well besides the main couple of categories.
Yeah, but that was her first Dakar. she was almost like she was in first place, right? And then she had was it the last day or the second to the last day? She had 3 flat tires and ran out of tires and lost the lead. I mean, she was doing so good.
No extra tires?
No.
What do they? How many do they carry? 2?
I think they carried 2, and she used them all up and had to like finish the race on a flat tire and went down by like 20 or 30 minutes and never. I think she finished on the podium, but I mean, she had a shot at a win.
That's not good.
Oh, I mean, it would have been record breaking, a win in your first Dakar and a female driver. But she did do really good, so good for her. And in the trucks, which the trucks are my favorite, but once again, there were no Russians.
No Russians.
And the Russians always do so well in Dakar trucks, but it's almost like, I think, did the Czechs win it this year? No, I think the Dutch won it again, didn't they?
Did they? Those are the only 2 companies I think that put in, or the factory companies that put a truck in.
Yeah, I mean, there's some other trucks. There was an all-female team, but they're, they don't really have a shot at a podium. They don't have the kind of backing that they have from the Netherlands.
No.
But, I don't know. It's kind of like, the Dutch win it, but there's an asterisk there, like, your biggest competition wasn't at the race again. So, that's all I have for this week.
I think we got everything.
Yeah. So, this is our first podcast ever. We are on X, formerly known as Twitter. How long do you have to say formerly known as Twitter? For like a year?
Until you don't want to.
Oh, okay. So yeah, we're on X, formerly known as Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Rumble, and then we're gonna have an Apple podcast and Spotify.
Yes.
Okay. Is that all of them? Did I get them all?
Let's do Amazon too.
And Amazon. So we'll be Pit and Paddock podcast on all of them. Or, no, on Instagram or on X, it's Pit in, like the letter N, Pit and Paddock.
At Pit and Paddock.
At Pit and Paddock. Is it at Pit and Paddock Pod or at Pit and Paddock?
Pit and Paddock Pod.
Okay.
I've got to stop saying Pit and Paddock.
How many times can you say Pit and Paddock fast after you take a shot of Jägermeister? Okay, that's it. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Next week.